All right, welcome everyone. We should be live. We will get confirmation of that live from the live chat. I am back in Prospera ZEDE in Roatan with the president of Prospera. If you guys remember, my last interview was with Eric, who's the CEO of Prospera. Eric lives here on the ground, runs all the day-to-day operations. Eric is the guy that knows everything that is happening day to day in the city. Joel will give his introduction, has a very different background from Eric, and we're going to get into that. And Joel, you are, I guess, you don't run the day to day operations at all. You do not live in Prospera, but Prospera is basically steered in your image a bit. And as a Bitcoin maxi, which we're going to get into, we're going to get into Joel's Bitcoin story. We're going to get into Joel's libertarian story, Joel's state senator, state representative in the state of Mississippi for about 10 years.
8 years.
8 years, yep. Close. About the same time I spent on Wall Street. So we're getting into that as to why a libertarian would do that. So this is going to be great. I'm going to do the same presentation I did last time. I'm going to try to do it a little faster because most of you guys have seen it. And please post questions in the live chat. I'll be keeping an eye on the live chat so we can ask Joel questions. And Joel, I guess, why don't you do an intro to yourself? I'm going to go to screen share. By the way, we are at here at one of the villas right on the water here. Let me go to my camera. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see a little bit. We are on the balcony of the second floor. If I pan down a bit, you can see the pool down there. There's the ocean. Here is the size of that balcony. It's awesome. And this is where I'm staying. That's the bedroom window right there, and there is another villa right next to us. This is really, really cool. See the ocean behind me there. I'm going to zoom back in a bit. Oh, wait, like that, and pan down so you guys can see us. And Joe, why don't you do an intro as to who you are? We'll get a little bit into your backstory, and then I'll do the presentation on Prospera. And then we're going to answer all kinds of questions about the vision of Prospera.
Sure. So I'll tell my story, and the story of Prospera and my political service, all sorts of fits in there. So I grew up in Mississippi. I was homeschooled all the way through. Joined the military right out of high school. So I served 6 years in the Air Force National Guard. Went to college during that time at Belhaven University in Mississippi. And graduated number one in my class, the only 4.0 in the class of 2003, and started a software company that.
Wait, what was your field of study in the
business? I started out computer science, but determined I wanted to do I wanted to do the system side of computers rather than the programming side of computers. So I switched to business, and then I got 16 network and computer certifications through independent study. Saw it. But anyway, so I started a software company, built it. It was called Bomgar Corporation, same as my last name.
Right.
I built it for 11 years and ultimately sold the company in 2014 to TA Associates, who then sold it to Thoma Bravo 2 years later, who then sold it to Francisco Partners 2 years later, who then sold half of it to Clear Lake 2 years after that. So the company's now worth more than $1 billion, and it's got a couple thousand employees, and it's much larger. So one of the many reasons I sold the company in 2014 was so I could run for a seat in the House of Representatives in the state of Mississippi. I had run out of business books to read and started reading political books as this journey of intellectual discovery of trying to learn new things. And I'd gotten so interested in politics. I just read everything there was to read. At one point, somebody gave me a copy of Ron Paul's book, Liberty Defined. That was sort of my on-ramp to libertarianism. And then I went deep down that rabbit hole, and ultimately Ron Paul said Murray Rothbard.
Yeah, I was saying you went down Rothbard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So ultimately, read books like Murray Rothbard's For a New Liberty, which subtitle is The Libertarian Manifesto. So I read a ton of Murray Rothbard, Mises, Hayek, Hazlitt, just the whole gamut. So anyway, ultimately I ran for a seat in the House of Representatives and won in 2015, started serving in 2016, served for 8 years. And I ran with a thesis that I was going to try to make the world the best I can make it, but at the same time determine whether transformational change was possible in the current political system, or we needed to try to find a new way to generate a new political system or a new legal and regulatory tax system. And I came to the conclusion, even though I became incredibly good at legislating, I mean, I love systems and figuring out what the rules are and who the players are, and then how to, game those systems to make the desirable outcome happen. And I just became incredibly good at that and got more done, passed more bills, killed more bills, amended more bills than anybody that got elected in my year, the class of 2016.
How many
Uh,
state representatives are there?
there's 122 in the House of Representatives and
The state.
in the state. Sorry. So in the state of Mississippi, there was 122 in the House and 52 in the Senate for 174.
For the
Every
state.
state has different numbers.
For the state.
Yeah, this is state level.
You don't think
That's
it's too many?
I mean, you're going to get bad incentives regardless. And so,
Right.
no, everybody would come along and they'd be like, we have too many, we have too few, we do this. At the end of the day, the problem with all of politics is incentives. The incentives are always to do the opposite of whatever is economically, productive.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if you had one or if you had 174 like Mississippi, the incentives are almost always going to be that those people are going to be incented to do
Right.
things that are not economically productive, which means centralize, regulate, build barriers to entry for entrepreneurs, and just all the wrong things. And I just became very good at sort of pushing back on that to the best of my ability.
Nice. And what were what are you most proud of the regulation that you stopped or the regulation that you created or liberated within the state of Mississippi in your 8 years, your top three achievements?
So Mississippi, I lost both my parents to cancer when I was in my 20s. And so I've
Oh, wow.
been an advocate for medical marijuana for a long time, of just as a way of dealing with pain and with nausea from cancer and things like that. So I was an advocate for medical marijuana. Ultimately, it was one of the only things I could not get through the legislature. So we got it through ballot initiative. And
Nice.
I can confidently say, had I not been the guy started that movement, built that movement, funded that movement, and all of that, we would not have been able to flip Mississippi to a vibrant, robust, and medical marijuana program for the patients of Mississippi. So I flipped one of the 50 states on medical marijuana. That was probably my biggest achievement. A bunch of others, we repealed administrative civil asset forfeiture so that
Beautiful.
yeah, so you don't,
I can't stand that.
oh, it's unbelievable. And it had gotten completely out of hand. So got that repealed in Mississippi prior to when I was elected. You were allowed to do what do you call them? Debtors prisons. So if you were in debt to the government
Wow.
beyond a certain threshold, they could just incarcerate you until your debts were paid off. I mean, it's literally like debtors prisons from hundreds of years ago. So we got those outlawed, where it's like, I mean, you can still put somebody in prison if they have the money and they refuse to give it to you and they owe it.
Right.
You can't just incarcerate people because they're poor
Right.
and they can't pay a $350 speeding ticket. So there was a lot of things, major reforms to the criminal justice system, to the foster care system. I mean, I got a whole list, but it was, I kept detailed track so that at the end of it, I could say, was it worth 8 years of my life? Was it worth all of that? And I'm just very confident that, I got a lot done. Now, at the end of the day, was it transformational to the whole state? No, it affected hundreds of thousands of people, but it's to do base level reform to the legal, political, regulatory, and tax environments. I came to the conclusion that transformational reform needed to be done somewhere other than the current political system, which is thus my involvement with Prospera. Happy to walk you through.
We'll get to that. So before Prospera, right? So you start out as a tech guy, you have your company, you sell your company, you go into politics.
Yep.
And then at one point you discovered Bitcoin.
Yes.
How did that come about? When was it? And how did it come on your radar?
Yeah. So as a result of Ron Paul, Murray Rothbard and everything, the libertarian ethos was always, or ever since I sort of discovered those resources, seemed to be the only political philosophy that was coherent.
Right.
Just like the Austrian School of Economics is the only school of economics that is coherent, that doesn't have bizarre flaws. Anyway, so as a result of that, I had read a lot. And so I heard about Bitcoin probably in 2014, but being a tech guy, my immediate assumption is, well, technology is always evolving. Right?
Right.
You know, first mover is never going to be what wins.
Right.
Because I didn't understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin that resulted in Bitcoin not only winning but always going to be the winner.
Right.
So I heard about it in 2014, but then when the price came back in 2017, I was like, all right, I have to check this out because now it's been a few years and it's still leading. Like, so this is not sort of normal tech. Something special's going on with it. So I started really digging into Bitcoin in 2017. Ultimately, either late 2017, early 18, started accumulating Bitcoin, and then started accumulating substantial amounts of Bitcoin. Then I got super distracted with a bunch of stuff in politics. So I'd sort of started down the rabbit hole, but then gotten diverted into like just everything else I was working on. And then when the price started coming back in 2020, 2021, I was like, all right, I have really got to go figure out the rest of this rabbit hole. And that at that point in 2020, 2021, 22, 20, like, I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's rarely do I encounter somebody who's read more about Bitcoin or can answer more questions about Bitcoin.
Almost every book.
Yes,
Bitcoin.
yes, not almost everyone. And my specialty is reading books against Bitcoin and against crypto. So I have read almost every.
You're like a speed reader, probably, right?
I did Audible. I 2x
Okay.
on Audible,
All right.
or I've got.
So people are saying you're speaking at 2x.
I am speaking at 2x. Right. Like it's at a time, like slowing me down. But and I use this app called Voice Dream, which will convert any document into audio content.
Oh, nice.
You know, I get a PDF that's 10 hours long.
Yeah.
I upload it and.
Oh no, I use Speechify for that. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so oh yeah, have you read like the newest books that come out, like Jimmy Song's latest book?
I've not read.
Yeah, I think I brought a copy to the Bitcoin Center, by the way, a signed copy from Jimmy Song, and I think I brought a signed copy of Parker Lewis's book, Graduate and Settled.
I've read almost all of his essays anyway, and so the book is mostly a compilation of essays. So I've sort of pre-read that one.
Dude, I got a shelf with like 25 Bitcoin books. I read one, Safer Teens. I'm like, I don't read. I'm almost the opposite of this guy.
I'm almost all the way through Lynn Alden's.
Oh yeah,
Money, which is
I don't have that one.
really good.
I don't have that one. All right,
Yep.
so that's how you got into Bitcoin.
Yep.
So this brings us to how did is it Prospera? Prospera.
Prospera. So the word
So
prosper.
I have been saying it right the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you say the word prosper and then you add an A, Prospera. Yes.
So how did Prospera come about? And okay, so just tell us the founding of Prospera and how you became the president of Prospera.
Sure. So a lot of us out there, from Patri Friedman, who started the Seasteading Institute and runs Pronomos Capital, a lot of people have been thinking about these ideas for a long time, which is, what if we could find a place that had a huge degree of legal, political, regulatory, and tax autonomy, so that we could actually experiment with the ideas of liberty and unleashing human prosperity, where you're not stuck doing a countrywide reform or even state level reform, right? The conclusion I came to in Mississippi is I could do big things for the state that affected hundreds of thousands of people, but I was not going to single-handedly get Mississippi out of last place in per capita income, where we've been basically since the beginning of time, right? I mean, so ultimately I started researching every single project.
Which is crazy because you're geographically positioned as good as any city in America with the mouth of the Mississippi.
Yeah,
and trade. It's just insane.
Yes, Mississippi has.
With Louisiana.
Yes. I actually launched, as part of my political stuff, I launched a website called outoflastplace.com, those 4 words, out of last place. And it goes through all the reasons that Mississippi is in last place since we started keeping income statistics in 1929, and Mississippi's been last ranked every single year since 1929, and a big diagnosis of that. I did a whole TED talk on it and all that. But short take is, I concluded that I was not going to, certainly not as a state legislator, single-handedly get Mississippi out of last place. So I started researching, where is transformational change possible in the world? And I looked at Liberland, I looked at Seasteading. Liberland had just started in 2014.
Yep.
I looked at all these projects and came to a bunch of conclusions. One, you're not going to do a project like that that's adversarial to the host nation. I mean, that's just not the way to do it. Two, there is no land left in the world that is not claimed. Period. Like, just there's literally not a square inch. And going to Mars, obviously, decades away, et cetera.
Elon will beat you there.
That's right. Third, with seasteading, if you don't fly a flag, you're a pirate, and you can be boarded. and
Correct.
your stuff confiscated.
We discussed this when I did the interview with Grant of Ocean Builders
All right.
last week. Like, what happens when you don't fly a country's flag? Is that advantageous or not?
Okay. And so the problem is, if you do fly the flag, then you're subject to some or all of that country's laws, at which point you might as well be on land.
Even on the other side of the world.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
So, as a result of that, in that journey, I met Eric Bremen, the founder, CEO, and chairman of Prospera, and he was on the same journey. He was just a few years ahead of me, researching all the same things. He had just started that journey before I did, and he's like, Joel, I've already done it.
How'd you guys meet?
So we met because I had reached out to Liberland,
Okay.
trying to figure out if it was real, if it was viable, if it was ever going to be anything. Ultimately, I concluded that the approach they took, they could have set up a special economic zone, a private city, a free private city, a charter city. That's not the approach they took.
They showed up and planted a flag.
You can't.
Which didn't go well.
It doesn't go well, right? Exactly.
I know. He's been on this channel.
Right, exactly. So but through that, I got connected to the various people. I had some various I guess efforts to draft documents for what you would use in that situation, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, so I got connected to Eric Bremen through Liberland. I think they had bought like the documentary rights or something to Liberland or something like that. I forget. But anyway, they got connected to Eric through that. And then Eric was like, well, look, we've sort of finished our worldwide survey of what's possible in the entire world and concluded that the Honduran ZEDE framework is the most powerful thing that's actually real. And that was,
but Eric was trying to make that framework, or was happened to be done independent and you guys discovered it?
Good question. So it was the Honduran ZEDE framework was built by Hondurans for Hondurans to attract foreign direct investments, jobs, economic growth, and all of that. It was passed in the Constitution with a variety of multiple attempts between 2009 and 2013.
You know what?
Yes.
This is probably a good time to transition into the presentation.
Yeah.
Because I have a slide for this. That's the reason why I say.
Yep.
So we'll watch the video in a bit, but here it is. And so
Yes.
go ahead. So keep talking as more about the Honduran ZEDE framework, which began. I have the Wikipedia part right there. I actually hate Wikipedia. It's just a CIA propaganda site. But for some facts, it's actually accurate. But for anything controversial, trust me, it's a Marxist so Wikipedia, right? So I said this I think when I first started, I said, man, if anyone was to rewrite the book or make a movie, a modern day 1984 movie, 1984 book, very good.
Yeah.
Winston is really a Wikipedia admin, altering history on Wikipedia and throwing it down the memory hole.
Sure. That's hilarious. Yeah. So to answer your question, it was passed in between 2009 and 2013, upheld by the Supreme Court in 2014. So it was enshrined in the Honduran Constitution and the legislative law, but nobody had discovered it and nobody had figured out how to make it work because you had to set up an entire municipal government with basically you had to set up a governing entity with a huge amount of legal, political, regulatory, and tax autonomy. It was expensive. It was very technologically difficult. So Eric, this was 2016 when I met Eric. Eric said, look, we think we'd get the first charter under the Honduran ZEDE framework. I was like, what's the Honduran ZEDE framework? He's like, well, nobody's heard of this thing because nobody's made it work. It's been sitting there for a couple of years. And so I researched it, and Eric and I came to the same conclusion, which was like, one, this is just an incredible forward-thinking framework for what can bring jobs, foreign direct investment, economic growth, tax revenue to any country that is open-minded and forward-thinking enough to do it. And Honduras was the country that did it. And so anyway, so I joined the board of directors, I think in 2017 of Prospera. I was one of the first major investors in Prospera. And so Eric was on the ground, doing all the work. I was mostly an advisor, board member. I was elected official. I had capital from the sale of my business in 2014. And so it was a perfect match. And we had other outside investors at the time in addition to me as well. And anyway, so we got the charter in 2017. Then it took a while to sort of build all the infrastructure. We broke ground in 2020. And then ultimately we acquired the Pristine Bay Resort, which is where we're sitting right now.
I'm gonna go through that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna explain the ZEDE a little bit better. There are 3 ZEDEs in Honduras. The current government is not as happy about the existence of the ZEDE framework as the prior Honduran government, and the elections are coming this
2025, November of 2025.
November of 2025.
Yeah,
okay, so we still got a year to go till the election. Okay, so we'll see how that election goes. And if the government goes back to what it was before, they're going to be a lot more pro-ZEDE than the current government. But the current government, and you know what, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So real quick, let's play a video first, and then let me know in the comments section if the audio is playing. Where is, okay, there we go, and here we go, and let's see if it plays.
Prospera is building the fastest growing private city project in the world, elevating human potential through a radically decentralized private governance framework. Legacy systems of governance keep individuals from reaching their full potential. Prospera provides a pro-innovation governance framework, creating the most transparent and efficient business environment in the world. Our system for legal, regulatory, and tax are designed to be an economic supercharger, massively easing business operations and unlocking new opportunities for innovation in industries like finance, medicine, construction, and more. Prospera partners with global leaders in architecture and urban development to build new cities on this platform, creating transformative investment opportunities. Our platform is currently powering the next generation Prospera city on the island of Roatan in Honduras, as well as an emerging prosperity hub on the Honduran mainland, with more locations planned worldwide. Prospera has strong legal stability protections, protected by international treaty for a minimum of 50 years. The 32 square mile island of Roatan is the location of Prospera's first city-scale development. The community's current footprint is over 400 acres and is easily accessible via direct commercial flights from Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, and other major U.S. and international airports, straight to the island. Prospera's development is conveniently located within a 20-minute drive of Roatan's International Airport, making it easy to travel directly from the United States to Prospera in just a few hours. Since its founding in the year 2020, Prospera's first development has grown from a greenfield site to include a host of world-class amenities. These include the pristine Bay Resort, Roatan's largest and most exclusive resort property, featuring villas, a hotel, private beaches, restaurants, an 18-hole Pete Dye golf course, and more. The commercial district offers Class A office space, with additional properties currently under construction. Prospera is home to some of the world's most innovative new companies, pioneering innovations in fintech, gene therapy, robotic construction, and more. If you're an entrepreneur on the forefront of the latest innovations, an investor seeking new opportunities for growth, or a 21st century pioneer searching for a beautiful destination where you can freely pursue your dreams, Prospera is the place for you. You can become a Prospera resident online today and create your business in just a few minutes from anywhere in the world. As the private governance services provider for the jurisdiction, Prospera Incorporated provides investors an opportunity to accelerate the city's growth and participate in the upside. The company is currently accepting investment in a $150 million convertible note offering for international investors worldwide and for accredited investors in the United States. Prospera is building the future of human governance, privately run and for profit. Join us today at prospera.hn.
All right, guys, I already see a question. This is for Bitcoin whales. Absolutely not. And we're going to talk about how it's not for Bitcoin whales. What are we doing here? Let's go to the next slide. Escape. There we go. And present. Oh, oh. There we go. Okay. So the Prospera is both a company and the name of the city.
Yes.
Which makes it a little confusing, which is why I try to explain it as best I can. Let me go through this presentation real quick. You guys have seen it before, and then Joe is going to help me fill in any gaps. This is the island of Roatan. The square, I guess, acreage or the size of the island of Roatan is approximately the same size as Manhattan. It's just thinner and more elongated. The entire island is surrounded by a barrier reef, which is absolutely incredible. This place has some of the best diving and snorkeling in all of the Caribbean. has some of the best weather in all of the Caribbean as well. This is basically, I haven't been to every Caribbean island. I've been to a few. I've been to Aruba about 10 times. And for me, this island offers so much more than Aruba does. It's absolutely incredible. Aruba is just the one very well-known one. Only a 2-hour flight from Miami, a 2-hour flight from Houston. Very easy to get to. Now, once Prospera, the corporation, got the ZEDE charter, and in order to really break down in the simplest way possible, what does the ZEDE charter offer? And this is grossly oversimplified. This is how I try to explain it to people. A ZEDE charter allows rezones an area where only the federal government's criminal laws apply, and all laws other than criminal are made by the ZEDE's I guess
Promoter and organizer.
Promoter and organizer, which is a minimal bureaucracy. So technically, it's an extra layer of bureaucracy between you, a person living there, or a landowner there, or a business owner there, and the federal government. But the purpose of that additional layer of bureaucracy in between is to literally take away all of the insanity that the federal government laws will do for you. So any laws other than criminal, so the Prospera ZEDE zone cannot make marijuana legal because it's illegal federally. But they have their own say in taxation, in building codes, in health codes, in financial regulation. So anything that is not criminal, I mean, you guys, I'm not sure. I don't know if we're going to get into the whole money laundering element, if that's criminal or civil. If it's civil, they make their own laws. Proximity to Belize, 3-hour speedboat.
That'd be a guess, but I don't know. I'm not sure actually off the top of my head.
You can get to Belize by boat. If you had a nice, speedboat, you can probably get to Belize. It's not far. We're not far from Belize at all. Just look it up on a map, guys. Google Maps is really, really useful. And that's why Bitcoin is already legal tender inside the ZEDE, even though Bitcoin is not recognized on the island or in the country. The island itself is very English speaking, English and Spanish. This island used to be a pirate island. It used to be a British colony, and it was given to the Honduran government approximately 100 years ago. But hey, after you can still, take a metal detector and find pirate coins from the 1700s. So the original land purchase by Prospera was about 100 acres right here in the corner. I can zoom in a bit, but I think my slides will zoom in. This was the original 100-acre purchase. And, everyone always compares their little city to Monaco, and it was going to be the size of Monaco. And they were going to start building their futuristic city with their own laws and regulations other than criminal. And then the pandemic hit, which created a bit of a problem, but a massive opportunity. So one of the problems that it created is between the pandemic and the overhaul of the government, people got a little bit scared in investing in a tourist destination because of the lockdowns and tourism disappears. The government became a little more hostile. People became very broke, especially when Bitcoin crashed from 12,000 to 3,000. The stock market crashed. Businesses failed. So in a way, some investment dried up, but a massive opportunity became available where this 300-acre property with infrastructure, an incredible resort, a beach club, a golf course, and that property was there was an ability to purchase this property from the bank's repossession of it for about 40 cents on the dollar. And now the valuation is probably way higher. So what has already been built? This is not a theoretical plan to build a libertarian utopia, which is why I am frustrated with all the libertarians. They have a vision, but they smoke too much weed to get anything done. This is the complete opposite of that. It's probably the most serious people in building a city I've ever met. And so what do they have? The first building was called the Better Building. This is the co-working space. This is the Prospera offices. The first proof of concept, beautiful building, has won awards for innovation of the shape and the look of this building. The first residential tower has been completed. I almost bought literally this apartment right here. Oh, I have an arrow pointing to the apartment I was going to buy right there. That was the apartment I was going to buy. I decided to put down pre-construction on building 2 instead, and still considering villa opportunities. But this is the building. This was the theoretical plan of the building. The building has been completed. People have started moving into this building this month, and there are short-term rentals available. So people are already living in this, the tallest building on the island, and it was built with very high, I guess, oversight. But the oversight was local. It was built a lot faster than it otherwise would be built, when you don't have to wait for a federal employee to show up and approve everything. It was a very reputable contractor, most reputable contractor in all of Honduras. I've met the CEO. He's awesome. Have Greek and same philosophy, freedom-minded philosophy, and they were able to build this building a lot faster without a lot of government red tape. The Bitcoin Center is one of the nicest Bitcoin centers I've ever seen. This was part of the purchase of Pristine Bay, and I have info on Pristine Bay. This is their beach club. This is where the gym is. This is available to the public for a day pass. These are private villas, and right next to this beach club is the Las Verandas Resort, which is where we are sitting right now. Last time I did an interview with Eric from right here. Today I am doing a we are
I think we're just off the side of it.
we're just off to the side over here. So maybe I can see it in the next picture.
Yeah, there
We are sitting right on this balcony. If I zoom in, if you're curious where we're sitting right here. And this is the pool below us. Okay, it's the third villa from the restaurant. Last time I did the interview here. Today I did the interview here. And last time I was staying here, I was staying in this villa. So I was streaming from somewhere, either on the, I think I was streaming downstairs right there with the pool in the background. And today I am in this villa, and I brought a bunch of friends and potential investors, and we have both of these villas. So we have about 5 people staying in this 5-bedroom villa and 4 people staying in this 5-bedroom villa. So this is the property. It was appraised for $115 million in 2016. It was purchased for $43 million. Now, obviously, between inflation and what you guys have done with this property, it should be appraised, I'm guessing, at least $200 million. But this property is going to get rolled into the ZEDE. So all taxes will be dropped by about 80%. And this becoming a ZEDE zone should, again, skyrocket its valuation. This has outperformed Bitcoin. Good job. Good job on the purchase. I know it wasn't easy to raise $50 million to buy this property, but this has already gone up 4-fold since the purchase around 2022.
Mhm.
Right. So they've only owned it for 2 years, and it's more than doubled, probably quadrupled in valuation by now. These are private villas that are available for sale. Some of them, they're definitely available for rent. Some people live here, and plenty of land plots to build more villas all through here. And what is the next plan? The next plan, Prospera is in the process of acquiring 300 acres of land in between their original 100-acre purchase, the new 300-acre purchase, the infrastructure purchase, and virgin rainforest in between, all beachfront, all on the coast. And once this land is acquired, it's time to stop expanding horizontally and it start to expand vertically.
Yep.
That is basically the plan. The first of these 4 buildings has been built. It will no longer be 3 additional buildings. It will be 2 additional buildings because the apartments in the first building were just a little too small, and the demand is for bigger apartments, and therefore 2 of these buildings will be merged into one to provide bigger and greater apartments, and that's where Vays is likely to make an investment. This is the original, I'm going to round to 100 acres. I believe it's a little less than that. This is this set of buildings where construction broke ground. The ocean is right down here, and they have a very futuristic vision of what this city is going to look like, and it's going to be voluntarily conscious of the environment around them, so you don't disturb the ecosystem.
Yes.
So the initial seed round was 2.5 million. What happened with that? Created the legal framework, which is like a 700-page document. I've seen it. I didn't read all of it. The charter was granted for ZEDE to be built. You bought the initial land. Land was a lot cheaper before people find out what you're building. The initial land was purchased. Registry was created. Land titles. Then comes the Series A. This was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it was Bridge 2019 and 2020. So we actually wrapped it up in either June or July of 2020.
Right. So 10 million. Probably didn't have much issues getting 10 million for this.
I mean, fundraising is always hard
Yeah.
when you're in the early stages. We've come a long way since.
That built the better building. It built the offices, created the arbitration center, some general services, the online residency program, and then came Series B. Series B was a lot trickier between the flip of the government
Sure.
and the pandemic, wiping out a lot of investment. But Series B did happen for 50 million, and the majority of this, oh no, sorry, the Princess Bay was part of a different thing. So the 50 million, this was completed, and this is basically building out the city. Now, in addition to the 50 million Series B, 100 million for real estate this is the convertible note offering for those interested in investing in real estate. And 43 million of this 100 million was used to purchase Princess Bay. Pristine Bay,
yeah.
sorry, I don't know why I go that. Pristine Bay was purchased, and it's hard to say what the valuation is. If I had to guess, at least 150 million. It's only been 2 years and possibly significantly higher. The adjacent land purchase is going to be happening this year and next year. And the additional money would be used to be built out this land. And as part of the Series B, this is the additional how the funds are going to be used. I believe, and there is still a little bit of room to get in on this, but this is something like this. If you have less than 1 million, I mean, I give maybe 500,000. You can still get in on this, and there's probably only a few million left at most. But you can reach out. There's a contact form in the YouTube description. There's a contact form to reach out and ask any questions you have. Now, the prospects are potentially incredible. The land value in Roatan is significantly undervalued, even compared to other parts of the Caribbean. And this is one of the most beautiful islands in all of the Caribbean. So here are some comparative land valuations. I mean, Hong Kong might be a little bit of a stretch, but trying to get to, the Cologne free zone in Panama, where I live, a valuation like this, if Prospera continues to grow and do what they're doing, reaching the valuation of Cologne free zone is a realistic goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is a realistic goal.
47x.
Yeah, 47x is a realistic goal because these are the taxes, and Joe and I had an offline discussion about it. Joel is as libertarian as it gets. He would have loved to have this zero tax zone across the board, but realistically, that was not feasible. Prospera is a for-profit company, is just a for-profit efficient company, and the federal government of Honduras was never going to approve a ZEDE with a zero tax because that could put the entire country on a global blacklist as a tax haven. So the lowest taxes they could possibly negotiate is a 5% income tax, uh, on your gross income. Your business tax is 1% of your gross income. Your retail that's your value added tax, 2.5%, and your land value tax is 1%. Okay, so we had a whole discussion on taxes with Eric. I'm sure everyone has these tax questions. Maybe you have a few comments on taxes, but we're not going to dive deep into the taxes. Please watch the last interview I did with Eric. We did a deep dive discussion on that. Joel, you want to maybe mention a few things on taxes?
Yeah, I mean, so the lowest, the best way to look at taxes is a percentage of GDP. How much is the government taking of the total economic activity? The lowest in the world right now is Dubai at about 11%. Our charter caps it at 7.5%. And if our aggregate tax revenue exceeds 7.5% of GDP, we have to refund that. And the goal ultimately, the land value tax only applies to land, not improvements. So your taxes don't go up just because you improve or build buildings or
Right.
things
So
like
as an example, if Joel owns a plot of land and I own an identical plot of land of the same size, literally right next to his, they're probably valued the same unless he's got a nicer view of the ocean. But if we're next to each other,
Sure.
probably unlikely. And our land is worth the same amount. Joe's a big entrepreneur, decides with a beautiful large family as I saw it, and I'm just one guy. And Joe builds a $2 million house on top of his plot of land, and I'm too lazy and I don't have anything on my land. We're still paying the same taxes on this land, regardless of the fact that there is a $2 million house on Joe's land and there is a barn on my land.
And long term, the goal was to get a tax structure where it became easier and simpler over time and more because as you hit that 7.5% aggregate cap of GDP, you can start refunding the least efficient kinds of taxes. And so it ultimately, long story, but it gets actually simpler. And everything about Prospero we built with the incentive structures where it's set like software for continuous improvement, like where you keep getting better instead of traditional government, which generally it starts and then it deteriorates, which is that. So all of that is, including the tax structure, was thought through of like, how do we build the incentive structure where it's gonna, keep improving over time. So yeah.
So please watch my prior interview with Eric for more information on the tax structure. And you guys have plenty of documentation about the tax structure as well. So people can go to the website and find it there. These are all the taxes that this zone does not have. And yes, zero taxes is ideal, but as I am also learning, zero taxes is potentially unrealistic.
Well, and the other thing is we look at it as user fees. It's like, what are you getting? And then you can opt out of as much as possible. So this is uh, this is as good as you can get in the real world. And again, I have these conversations with people now and then, and they have these dreams of dreams and visions of the impossible. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have anything. You have no land, you have no autonomy, you have no freedom. Like, this is real in the real world. So like, let's get this, and then we can get this and improve on it. That's real.
So in case you're wondering what is the number one use of the tax revenue that Prospera collects? It is to fight might be the wrong word, but it is to defend your freedoms against the federal government of the country on your behalf.
It's just,
It's
to make
probably
sure everybody honors their part of the charter and they're part of the legal contract. And so, and to make efficient all of the mechanisms, including, stuff that requires interfacing, like when power lines cross from one jurisdiction to another. Like we handle all that. Our goal is to make living in the jurisdiction simple, and that's effectively the user fee to preserve your freedom and make life in Prospera as simple and straightforward as it can be.
So this is an older graphic. There is a much larger executive team now. So when you guys update your big document, I will update this slide. But here is Joel as the president. The last interview was with Eric. Hopefully next time I can interview Jorge or Gabriel, one of the other executive members, or maybe Luke, who's now the CFO.
Yep.
Another executive member. So my next interview might be with Luke, the CFO, and he's going to be the guy that knows the tax structure best. And here's my last slide, and then we're going to talk about this. So someone asked, is this for Bitcoin whales? And the answer is no. So these are the 4 types of people that Prospera is looking to attract. A permanent residence, a resident. So the city needs to grow. So I know your goal was occupant 10,000 people by the end of 2025, but the pandemic put a huge delay on that. So 10,000 people by 2027?
Sure, I'll let Eric pick the targets, but
All right.
Sure.
So that's their goal, right? So you don't necessarily have to be super rich, but if you're looking for a place, a beautiful island destination, you want to come here, open your business, you want to come here as a digital nomad. They built the apartment buildings. Hopefully the next break ground happens sooner than later. Very soon, the more space people have to live at on a reasonable rent or reasonable cost of a condo. Every single business needs to start. A barber, a bodega, there was already a scuba shop, but you're happy to compete with them. It's going to be hard. And restaurants, bars, whatever you think of. If you have an expertise and you wanted to come to a brand new city and be the first person in the ZEDE, in the Prospera ZEDE, you can put on your wall, first barbershop in Prospera ZEDE. First, I don't know, physical therapy in Prospera ZEDE. Okay, so all kinds of people can move here. I mean, it's not really it's a more investment of your time, and whatever your costs are to relocate. So that's one type of person. There's lots of job opportunities. As more people move, the city collects more tax revenue. The city could hire more people and build the city faster. Lots of job opportunities, middle management especially. There was careers at Prospera.com, I believe. There was a link in the video description for all kinds of potential jobs. Here at Prospera, you can get paid in Bitcoin. You can denominate your salary in Bitcoin. You can say, hey, let's negotiate. I want to get paid, X amount of Bitcoin for the next 6 months, and they'll denominate you in Bitcoin. Digital nomads willing to buy an apartment, so willing to invest in property. There's condos, there's office space, there is retail space, there is land available to purchase here in the zone. Your investment would be probably from 100,000 to 250,000. Move your business here. The legal jurisdiction for your business here is second to none. Joel can talk more about that in a minute. And your business, it depends on your business. If you have an online business, may not cost you much to move your business here if it's an online business. If it's a physical business, like I mentioned, like a barbershop, probably is not going to cost you $1 million. But if you want to open a nice restaurant, between remodeling and everything, it might cost you up to $1 million to move your business. And of course, investment opportunities on Prospera itself. That's that $100 million convertible note for land purchase. Round C's coming eventually.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, round C is going to come. These are bigger investment opportunities in the city itself. And how do you make money? Well, taxes. Hopefully, the tax revenue not only improves the city, but also pays back the investors. And it's a delicate balance for you guys, right? Like
Sure.
how much money to spend on making the city better to create more tax revenue versus how much tax revenue you're using to make sure the investors are happy
Sure. Sure.
and invest more money in the city.
Well, absolutely. But those are the same incentives of every business, and that's the beauty of it. In traditional government, you don't have any of those incentives. In our case, we have all of the positive incentives of the private sector, which is deliver better goods, better services, and keep the price of those low to encourage people to come. And then again, our charter is capped, and the when you join Prospera and live in Prospera, you sign a contract that says, "Hey, here's my taxes." So we don't even have the ability to raise them, for people that are already here. So it's like all of that is baked in, but it drives the efficiency that should be present, in all businesses, and just usually isn't present in government at all. There's just no incentive in government. So we've applied the principles of the free market to human governance, which is exciting.
Okay, so tell us more about why would a company, any company, move here to Prospera instead of being anywhere else in the world?
Sure.
What are the competitive advantages to attract any company from anywhere in the world to here?
Yeah. So the biggest, let me start with the sort of the most clear value proposition. So biotech. There's a huge amount of innovation that could happen in biotech and longevity and regenerative medicine and gene therapy and all of these things. And the reason it doesn't happen is because the world has essentially choked off. The regulatory systems of the world are standing on the oxygen hose of medical innovation, right? It takes 10 to 12 years to get a new drug FDA approved. I mean, it's just insane. So within Prospera, we have a legal framework that allows you to adopt the legal framework of anywhere in the world or propose your own, like MiniCircle. And you can do what would have taken you 10 or 12 years somewhere else in the world. You can do stage 1 clinical trials in 6 months. Like there's none of the barriers, and it's all about informed consent. It's all about, do you have a contract? It's all about, do you have insurance for the riskiest types of behavior? But there's just no massive bureaucracy. There's just a very efficient process that says, here's the boxes you have to check to make sure everybody stays safe, and or that there's consequences if something goes wrong. And so any business, the more regulated a business is in the industry they're in, and medicine and finance would be two of the most regulated industries of the world. If those are operating within Prospera, you can start doing the medical innovation today. Like there's just nothing holding you back. And there's nowhere else in the world that provides that level of autonomy. For other businesses, it depends on how regulated they are, and all of that as to the benefits of being in the jurisdiction versus not. But the biggest would be heavily regulated industries where it's just hard to innovate anymore. And medicine and finance would be two of the biggest.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about. I just want to play you guys this video. Brian Johnson released a video. It's been watched by 731,000 people. Brian Johnson is the man trying to live forever with 1 million subscribers. And I'm gonna play the first minute or so of this video. And you will see him standing exactly where we are doing this interview right now.
A remote island for an extreme medical procedure that could change the future of humanity. Humans have a 120-year ceiling, and so far, no one can punch through it. Gene therapy might be the answer. This is a journey in search of the fountain of youth.
Go right there.
This is me as a kid in search of the fountain of youth.
Just missed it. 1 second. I have to pause it. Drop.
Answer. This is a journey in search of the fountain of youth.
Boom, right there. We are in a village just off to the screen. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We are right here.
There.
We are sitting right on this balcony. This was in Brian Johnson's video. This is the balcony we are sitting on right now. I'll play about a minute of this, and then we're going to talk about it.
This is me as a kid. This is a kid who was born with one of the effects of the gene therapy I'm about to do. In mice, when they received this gene therapy, they lived 30% longer. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. In the shadow of the Caribbean lies Roatan, a hidden gem off the Honduran coast. shrouded in mystery. Beyond its breathtaking beaches and coral reefs, Roatan hides a secret venture, Prospera, an experimental zone for governance.
All this that you see is Prospera.
Prospera defies convention, crafting its own laws in a game of high geopolitical stakes against the Honduran government's backlash. I'm traveling to the heart of Prospera to find MiniCircle, a biohacking company rewriting the rules of wellness. Their target, follistatin gene therapy, a pioneering technology with the potential to improve muscle and strength, slow the speed of aging, and many more benefits. While becoming like the Bully Whippet and Belgian Blue, who have a similar gene mutation, is not my goal. It's interesting to see the results in our animal friends.
Okay, so guys, please check out this video. Now, gene therapy is very controversial. We're not here to discuss the controversial aspect of gene therapy. As free market capitalists, our problem is government forcing gene therapy on us, or governments forcing vaccinations on us, or anything else. This is a private company researching gene therapy, and they're not forced. No one forced Brian Johnson to pay $20,000 and inject himself with their technology. He did it voluntarily. But the only reason he was able to inject himself with MiniCircle's gene therapy was because MiniCircle was able to speed up their clinical trials by years because they incorporated in Prospera.
Right. Absolutely. It's pretty magical. And the only place in the world you can do it.
So Joe mentioned it very, very briefly, but this is the part that needs to be stressed and elaborated upon. Oh, let me reset my camera here. 1 second. There we go. It's hard for a country, any country, to know what the right regulations are for any business. But what every country does is someone in the bureaucracy of the government decides what the regulation is for a certain business. And that gets written into the laws. And now good luck changing that.
Right.
Okay? Prospera takes a different approach because Prospera has full autonomy on non-criminal regulation and laws. They don't want to write a law on gene therapy because they don't want to have to change it 6 months later when you realize you've made a mistake, and now it's hard to change because it's harder, it's almost impossible to remove laws. We still have daylight savings time, for Christ's sakes, in the United States, and they still can't remove it. And it's been proven to be grossly inefficient.
Right.
It costs, and I'm not even going to get into that. And
I'm with you on that one, though.
So that's just one of the things, right? I read a law somewhere that in Minnesota it's illegal to drown a fish. Like these are the kinds of laws that go to the book on the books,
Right.
and you just can't get them off. And like someone looked through the archives of the British laws, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and they found out that you can I forgot it was, I think it was a Scotsman. You can kill a Scotsman on your balcony, but only with a crossbow. And that for any reason. And that was still on the books legal like 20 years ago. Until someone discovered it, that it's still legal, right? So getting rid of laws is impossible. So what Prospera has decided is if you found a regulation that fits your business anywhere in the world that is globally recognized and accepted, you can bring that regulation to Prospera to run your business. So for example, it's possible that MiniCircle found very favorable regulation in Africa of, say, the Congo or Uganda. And they're like, wow, we would love to run our business in Congo, but we don't really want to live in the middle of Africa.
Right.
So that removes their possibility of running their business with that regulation, because they would have to move to the middle of Africa. But they can take the framework of that regulation, present it to the Prospera, I guess, city management.
Yeah.
And like, hey, we want to use Ugandan regulation on our business. It is globally recognized. Here is proof. as long as they are compliant with that regulation that is globally accepted, they can now run their business here under that regulation. And the business next door to them could have an identical concept, identical product, and choose a different country's regulation because they think it's better. So there is no single regulation on gene therapy, or there's no single regulation on stem cells. There's no single regulation on, any business. Like the scuba shop, for example, can choose which scuba regulation they want to function under, and they would get proper insurance under that regulation. And if they break that regulation, then they're in violation.
Right.
Did I explain that correctly?
Yes, it's super flexible. You can adopt regulations worldwide and operate under them here with a declaration. You just declare that this is the regulation, or you can propose your own, which results in a new innovative regulatory framework that the world has never had other than in Prospera. Or you can even operate a business under common law with treble damages, meaning, hey, you're going to operate under the common law legal code, but if somebody gets hurt somehow, you owe 3x whatever harm was done.
Right.
So it's just a very flexible, and not just that, but everything we've done from from how zoning and planning and architectural standards and all of it was, hey, let's wipe the slates clean from what the world has and figure out if you were to rebuild this from scratch with the most innovative ideas that are going to self-perpetuate in a positive direction rather than deteriorate like bureaucracy tends to do, what would those be? So that's just, our regulatory framework is an example of one of hundreds of ways that we figured out how do you do human governance in a self-perpetuating positive way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So guys, one of the reasons why I like this place so much, it's not that the place is awesome, it's also the people. And this is why I'm bringing you interview with the people, okay? If one of the co-founders was, let me not name founders of shitcoins, but name your pick, right? Well, I'm going to name a bunch. I don't want to pick on any one. Jeb McCaleb, Vitalik Buterin, Charles Hoskinson. Name your favorite shitcoin creator. If that was one of the co-founders or one of the main financial backers, you would not see me here, right? So it's not that this place is amazing. I think it's a city too important to fail. It's how I felt about Bitcoin when I first discovered Bitcoin through Ron Paul, by the way. Following Ron Paul's campaign for president in 2012, I used to watch a lot of RT because mainstream media was never covering him or doing interviews with him or showing his speeches. So I had to watch him on RT, a Russian channel. And that's when I discovered Max Kaiser and other shows that taught me about Bitcoin. That's how I learned about it. So again, the Ron Paul connection here. And no matter how awesome this place is, if I don't agree and I don't believe in the founders, I would have nothing to do with it, right? So far, I brought you an interview with Eric. I now brought you an interview with Joel. The next time I come here will probably be late September, and after Unconfiscatable. And hopefully Joel can make it to Unconfiscatable. Mostly lives in the U.S. You can meet him there. And but that's my next. And my next interview will be with another C-level manager, maybe not a co-founder. And you get to meet him as well, so you understand that the people here don't only believe in liberty, but they also believe in not scamming you. So I don't, even though it's probably perfectly legal for you guys to have your own currency and your own token, you have chosen the Bitcoin route.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for what it's worth, I don't advertise this, broadly, but like I've got, for my liquid assets, I got 96% in Bitcoin and 0% in shitcoins.
Right. So this is what's going to keep. It's people like Joel and hopefully myself coming here more often, and Luke, the CFO, is a Bitcoin maxi, and Dushan, that runs the Bitcoin Center, is a Bitcoin maxi. Eric, the CEO, who never really, he was too busy trying to build the perfect city. He was never a crypto guy, but he happened to get surrounded by Bitcoin maxis, and it's pure luck because this city could have gone in a very different direction. So very grateful to you, Joe,
Absolutely.
for
Thank
being
you.
one
Thank
of
you.
those early pioneers of the city 5 years ago. And hopefully we keep this as the Bitcoin city. And I know there's Bitcoin City coming up in El Salvador, but you guys are just so much further along.
We're here already in real life.
Years further along. You have to come here and see it. We're gonna wrap up the interview. We gotta head out and explore the island some more. Go into a cool place. Keep an eye on my Instagram and Telegram. Please follow Joel. I'm gonna pull up his social media one more time. So go ahead and do some closing thoughts.
I mean, look, we'd love to have you here. We were the first jurisdiction in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, even before El Salvador even announced their intent to do so. I mean, everything from, Bitcoin is our primary reserve asset, even on the balance sheet of Prospera Incorporated. It's sort of the perfect connection.
Hey, is that public knowledge how much Bitcoin Prospera is holding, or you're not
Not public knowledge, other than
Okay.
it's our primary
So,
reserve asset.
1 second. It's Bitcoin Treasuries. Our friend Rodolfo Novak keeps this spreadsheet of every company and every business that holds Bitcoin on their balance sheet, from public companies. That's easy. They have to disclose it. To like wrapped Bitcoins, to private companies that have, I guess, announced how much they're holding,
Sure.
maybe for I don't know, what do you call them? To look cool. So these are private companies like BitMax. They have their public reserve account, and Block One that scammed their way into 164,000 Bitcoin by selling you EOS token, and Mt. Gox, which is slowly getting rid of their Bitcoin. So these are private companies.
Sure.
SpaceX used to have some, now it's zero. And then we have countries and how much Bitcoin each country is holding. You guys would be here in a private company's list, but you have no reason to tell the world how much Bitcoin is in your treasury.
Sure.
But yes, there is one more line item here that says Prospera, and I'm sure it's more than 3. So you're somewhere
Relatively nice.
So you're somewhere above 3, and probably below 164,000 Bitcoin. So Prospera would be somewhere in this zone between 89,000 and 3. Guess accordingly. Okay. But yes, there is another company that's sitting right in the middle here, and that's Prospera, who's holding decent amount in Bitcoin on their treasuries. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Any other closing thoughts?
No, look, I'm a huge fan of I guess the things I'm most excited about in the world are Prospero, because we're changing the full stack of human governance. Bitcoin, and I even I brought just to show and tell. If you haven't checked out Block Square's latest hardware wallet, well, only hardware wallet, which is Bitcoin only, which is the BitKey. It's super cool. It's super amazing. So
I've never seen this before. I would BTC Sessions, if you're watching, please do a review on this. That's the guy, that's the tech guy I trust. He will be at Unconfiscatable, so we'll talk to him about it. I'll DM him, ask him, wow, this looks cool.
It is cool, and their tagline is easy to use, hard to lose, and they have absolutely.
And this is Jack Dorsey's
Yes, Jack Dorsey's.
Block.
Now
Formerly
Square.
Square.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so this is their hardware wallet.
That's their hardware wallet.
Actually,
It's super.
Is that a fingerprint reader?
Yeah, it is. And you can put your fingerprint on it. It's just going to show up red because it's not my fingerprint. Right. But yeah, it's just they really thought of every conceivable element of what happens if you lose the hardware device, what happens if you lose your phone, what happens if you lose both. And they built this just incredible
lot of thought into that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, other than the Bitcoin white paper, which stands alone as the most, possibly impressive document ever in recent, history. The 22, 29, whatever page document that outlines how this device works and all the backups and all the security and all the unhackability built into it is a really fun and really impressive read. It stands alone. I mean, it's the only wallet I can confidently recommend to normies where I know they're not going to call me in 6 months and say, I somehow lost my Bitcoin and I don't know how. And it's like with this, you can't screw it up. Super simple, and it's a 2 or 3 multi-sig, but it shields you from all that complexity. So if you wanted a bonus show and tell, I had it in my pocket. I don't carry it with me, but I was like, I'm doing an interview. I like to show and tell new technology, and it's it's only a few months. It's only been on the market a few months, and
Oh wow!
it's super cool.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah. So
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out the links in the video description. Check out my YouTube playlist. This video is going to be part of that YouTube playlist. I am coming to this island about once every 2 months to kind of show people around. This is exactly what I did when Bitcoin started. It's like, Tone, why are you spending your time? Why are you spending your money? Bringing people here. I mean, it does actually cost me to bring people here, time and just to show people. Right now, I'm doing it for friends, not so much. Well, friends and family. You say friends and family, but it depends on how big your family is. But you can treat some of your friends like family. So far, I'm doing these trips for friends and family. So if you know me personally, reach out, tell me you're interested. I'll set up another trip. When I run out of close friends, I'm going to expand it to acquaintances. And then I keep these trips to under 21 people. This trip, I have 15 people here with me, and we're still ironing out the agendas. It's gonna be like a 4 or 5 nights. If you're not spending 4 or 5 nights here, you're not gonna see the whole island. You need to see the whole island. You need to get a feel for it, if this is a place you want to invest in, or if this is a place you want to live in. I'll be doing more of these trips. I'll be doing more of these interviews. I think this place is freaking awesome. And going back to, it's the same passion I had for Bitcoin. I realized Bitcoin was something special in 2013. In 2014, I started publicly speaking about it. In 2015, I quit my job. And all I wanted to do was help Bitcoin succeed. And I think I played my part between the fork wars and all my content. And now I'm doing the same thing for Prospera, because just like I felt that Bitcoin was too important of a technology for freedom to fail, I think this city is too important of a test of how a city should, of what a real city should be in the world. And if this city fails, it hurts all of humanity. But if this city succeeds, it literally alters everything we know about how a city is to be built, managed, and run. And I think this project is too important to fail, just like Bitcoin. And I'm going to try to do everything I can to help it succeed properly as a Bitcoin-only city.
wonderful. And again, I'll extend the invite as you already did. Come visit Roatan and Prospera. Everybody who comes down just can't believe it's real. They're like,
Right.
everybody reads about it and they even see pictures, and then they come down and they're like, wow, it's like really here. It's like, well, what did you think the videos were? Like, they're like real.
Right.
Like, check them out. It's amazing. And it's taken a lot of hard work over a lot of years, but it's amazing, and we're really doing it.
It's like
And
taking it's like taking a flat earther to a
Right.
spaceship, and he's like, oh, it really
it really is round. Love it. Love it.
All right, guys. Thank you all for watching, and see you all on the next one.
Thanks.